Hello and welcome to the Wheel of Crime podcast, the podcast where two ladies play games, mumble profanities, and laugh way too often. Also, this podcast does cover topics of sensitive nature, and as such, listener discretion is advised.
Hello, and welcome back to yet another episode of the Wheel of Crime podcast. My name is Jenn.
And my name is Emily. And yes, welcome back, everybody. I hope everybody had a great week enjoying this fall weather here in the last week of September, which is today-ish. It's coming up.
Today-ish.
Well, Jen, how have you been? How's wedding planning been going? How is everything?
Good. The day this is posted will be the day before my bachelorette party,
Which
Emily is attending.
Excuse you. I'm also hosting. I have a job to do. Thank you.
It's true. I'm putting her to work.
I love how you say that, but at the end of the day, I came up with everything. I was like, listen, guys, we got a plan. I know what we're gonna do. So, for Jen's bachelorette, we've got an evening tour of basically just some drinking things, some game things, that kind of stuff. Lots of socializing and just general hooliganery. But my favorite part is I found it's a little stereotypical, but I feel like it's stereotypical because it's fun, which is games that you play during the night that are bride or wedding themed type things to do, and then you win a prize and stuff. And so the prizes that I got, because of course I had to get something fun, is for games that we're playing before we leave to do our other stuff. I did find a box of penis-shaped pasta, so that either you can eat dicks or you can have somebody else eat dicks for you.
I'm gonna win so that I can feed my future husband John dicks.
Yes. And I was hoping, not hoping per se, but I was really, really contemplating including an Alfredo sauce recipe to tape to the back of it, just as a suggestion. Just as a little silly suggestion.
I love that. It'd be creamy dick pasta.
Exactly. You soften up the dicks for your own personal enjoyment. So it brings me great joy that I was able to find that. So that's one of the prizes. And then for the other one, because it involves doing a lot of kooky things throughout the night and documenting it, I put together a bag of hangover remedy stuff, because my thought, and I keep telling everybody this so that they know I've put thought into it, is if you are drinking and you're doing a checklist of embarrassing things to do, my thought is that whoever fills out the most of them is probably going to end up being one of the drunker people, and they are going to want a hangover remedy the next day. Mm-hmm.
They definitely are. It makes sense to me.
Yeah, so I put together a little bit of that, and yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm manifesting it.
Yes, I am too. Fingers super crossed. Actually, I know everything's gonna go well. I trust you.
I'm just worried about other people. I trust myself and I trust you. So I thought about it and I was like, okay, buddy system in our head. I got Jenn and I've got Ryan Gosling. So we're gonna be fine. Because we're also bringing out Jen's favorite podcast co-host with us for the night out.
I don't know if we ever posted Ryan on the pod. Maybe you're gonna have to.
I thought about that too. I feel like if we ever did, it would have been a while ago. But for some background for anybody who might be a new listener or maybe not caught this story, for Christmas a couple of years ago, I had a brilliant idea. And so I got Jenn a cardboard cutout of Ryan Gosling because it brought me joy. And I knew if it brought me that much joy, it would definitely bring Jenn lots and lots of joy. What I didn't think was going to happen was how much joy he would bring everybody else in my family and my neighborhood, because it turns out when you order Christmas presents a month in advance and they happen to be giant cardboard cutouts of people, you can scare a lot of people, especially in the holiday season when they're not expecting to be scared. Because he was like standing behind the Christmas tree at my parents' house for, swear to God, like almost like a full couple of months. And there would be people who would come over and be like, oh my God, I saw somebody standing like in your window or behind your Christmas tree. It scared me so bad. So he's had he's a bit of a sordid history with scaring people. And I think he's going to have a lot of fun out this weekend.
I would agree. I am excited to bring Ryan out. I brought him to my office on the last show I was on for a while, and he was well loved there. People loved Ryan. He was a part of many photo shoots, also many scare pranks and such. So man's gotten around, and I think he's excited to get out on the town finally.
I think so too, and it's funny because I'm always like I'm always very critical when I do shopping for people, because I'm always like, oh, like I need to be like very like considerate of like these different things, right? Every year I try to be like very minded a certain way about certain people around the holiday season. But like Ryan was one of those things where I thought about it and like nothing else mattered. Like I think I blacked out when I bought him because I was so excited about what your face was gonna look like. When you saw him, like, that excitement still feeds me today, and it's been a couple of years.
Oh man, it was so good.
Good times.
So good.
But yes, it is your story today, though, and I have no idea what we're talking about, so should we spin the wheel of questions?
Yes, spin away, Em.
Number 4.
Do you have a signature piece of jewelry or clothing that, like, if someone was to describe you, they'd be like, oh, Emily always wears blank?
I guess it would depend on who you ask. If you asked Andrew, he'd say, oh, Emily always wears sweatpants. And he's right. But I work from home, so there's a reason for that. But I feel like for years now, I kind of have, like, people see, when I know for a fact that when people think of what I look like, they usually think of me with a bun on my head, leggings probably, running shoes, and, like, a ring, not necessarily my wedding ring, but, like, a ring on my ring finger where your wedding ring goes, and a watch of some kind. And the rest is pretty, like, you know, like, it's like, oh, leggings and a sweater, leggings and a cardigan, leggings and a t-shirt. Like, you know, everything else is pretty consistent, though.
Yeah. I mean, that is the visual I get of you.
And sunglasses.
Personally. Yes, always sunglasses.
Yeah. Got them sensitive eye
and
problems.
And lately, always her little fanny pack Lululemon bag that she puts across her body.
Yes, because I am also stylish sometimes.
She's a stylish girl.
I like to think of a stylish girl, but I do wear the same things all the time. So stylish to a point. And then,
that's fair.
All right, so for you, I feel like every time I see you, you usually have, it's kind of similar where you have either your hair like half up, half down, or you do like down, and you're usually wearing a t-shirt, leggings, and your Birkenstocks. And then your Birkenstocks, when it gets cold outside, switch over to Birkin something else, and then eventually it segues into your Bloodstones for the wintertime.
It's true. I feel like if someone was like, oh, like key pieces on me would be my Birkenstocks and my nose ring, because I feel like those are like,
oh yeah,
classic looks for me.
I didn't even think about jewelry. I guess for me, I just always have my ear jewelry, and so I guess that would be a thing that probably people think about. But yeah, and your nose ring. It's just a part of you to me, so I didn't even think about it.
It's a hole in my face that I've filled with a little ring.
Yeah, and you're like, I ain't got a ring in it. I got my earrings business that I keep in all the time. And I guess tattoos, actually. I did have a conversation with somebody the other day about how they always visualize, like certain key tattoos that I have, like not necessarily all of them, but they always remember that I have my one cat tattoo on my leg, and then my flowers on my arm, and then I have a little dagger behind my ear. Like I have lots of other ones besides those ones, but those three I guess are the ones that people usually think about.
See, the ones that I usually think about for you are your like little bow and arrow thing, and your lighthouse. It's a lighthouse, right?
It's not a lighthouse, street light.
Or no, it's like a lamp post.
Yeah, it's the lamppost from Narnia. I was like, street light. I don't even know what I have. We're all kind of right, but yeah, it's one of those things.
Those are like the main two that I think of when I think of Emily's tattoos.
That makes sense though, because I feel like those ones I usually wear like. I have longer pants on usually, so I feel like leg tattoos people don't really see, but arms would make sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I was trying to think, I've also had my belly button ring, I guess, for a long time, but again, it's not like I'm walking around in like crop tops all the time, so I feel like that one's not normally seen either.
I feel like I usually see it just because you stay over at my home, and usually you can see it from your comfy clothes, but...
You know what? You got me there. You're absolutely right. No, it's funny because my mom was even saying the other day, she's like, I forget all the time that you have your belly button ring, but I guess, because you can't wear your jewelry when you go in for surgery, like for my tonsillectomy, so I had to take everything out, including my belly button ring. And I guess, so I don't quite remember this. I remember it a little bit, but like that entire day after my surgery is very like fragmented. But apparently I had to re-pierce it because during the time I had it out, it like had kind of healed itself, which is very bizarre because I've had this for like over 10 years, by the way. This is a 10-year-old belly button ring, not the ring. Hole? It's been around. So I guess I had to I had to re-pierce it, and my mom was supervising me, I guess, and apparently me re-piercing my belly button traumatized her so bad that like she can't even think about it without gagging.
Oh my god.
And like I remember the fact that I had to. I just don't remember like what I did. And Mom was like, "Yeah, no, it was not a good sight to behold." And I was like, "Well,
I'm so happy I wasn't there."
Yeah, I'm like, "Wow, I'm glad I wasn't there."
And your poor mother is like, "Oh god, I'm so sad I was there."
Yeah, and my mom's like, "Oh my god, I have to live with this trauma for the rest of my life." But yeah, okay. I feel like both of us know each other well enough that all checks out to me.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Our next question.
Yeah. 3.
Have you ever cheated on a partner or boyfriend?
No, actually. I have dated multiple people at the same time, but when I was in a relationship with somebody, I've never cheated on them. I don't think.
Not that she's aware of.
Yeah, not that I'm aware of, which probably means I haven't.
Control what she does in the astral plane.
Oh yeah, on the astral plane, I'm all over the place. Dick's flying all over the place. But yeah, no, I have dated multiple people at once though, because there was a point when I was in college where I would be like kind of seeing one person, and then another person would be like, "Oh, you want to go out?" And I'd be like, "Well, okay, I guess." Like, I don't know. It's not like I'm really dating this person yet, so I guess, yeah. So I've done that.
Every girl's got to have a roster at least once.
That's exactly the word for it. I had a little roster going at one point. I had a roster of, I think it was like 3 people at one time that I was dating at the same time. But once I was in a relationship with somebody, I you cut the roster off because then it becomes cheating. Yes.
Before that, the roster's fair game.
See, that's the thing. I actually did have an interesting conversation with somebody about like that whole thing before, because there are lots of people who feel like even having a roster is cheating. But my thought was I was like, well, if you've been on one date with somebody, you wouldn't consider yourself to be in a relationship with them yet. Maybe not even after a couple of dates. So if somebody else asks you out and you like them well enough and whatever, and you don't really know where the first person's going, would you not go on a date with them? That's the part that confuses me.
I feel like a roster is totally acceptable, especially for like, I don't know, not even especially, but I just feel like it's acceptable. I feel like it's kind of one of those things that's just a part of dating, and most likely at least one or two of the people that you're seeing are also doing something similar, you know?
But that was my thing too. I was like, I don't think I'd ever, like, especially when I was like in my college era of seeing people regularly, I feel like during that time too, it's almost like you don't really know what people want either, and people don't really want to have those conversations. So it's almost like, yeah,
It's just kind of fair game.
yeah. And it's like you said too, the people I were like dating were definitely also seeing other people too. So it's not like anybody was like unclear about what was going on. So maybe that's a part of like the confusion, is if somebody's like dating one person and then they're like, well, why are you dating other people? I can see where that would come in, but
Yeah. I don't know. I'm a big believer that you should have conversations with people that you're seeing so that you're all on the
100%.
same page.
Oh yeah, I feel like that's a given, but you think it's a given, and then people don't do that. So this is a PSA.
And then they get their feelings hurt.
Yeah. So this is a PSA for anybody who maybe has a roster. Maybe talk to people when you're dating them and just be like, oh, hey, like, what are we? I know it's spooky, but you maybe don't have to phrase it like that, but be like, oh, so like, are we dating or are we seeing each other? I feel like that's a good...
Very different.
I feel like that's a very casual way to like
Bring it up.
Sift through the feelings, the embarrassment of the whole thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, I'm a roster girly too. But yeah, no, I have never cheated on a partner though. Like I said. Yeah.
Except for maybe in the astral plane, we cannot confirm or deny.
Yeah, that part, not sure about. It was astral plane Emily. She's a very different person.
We don't know her.
We don't know her. What about you, Jen? I from knowing you, I don't think so. But also, you dated people earlier in life than I did, so I don't know about like early boyfriends.
Nah, wasn't I mean, now I'm told that I'm a slut, but I'm just kidding, guys.
Yeah,
no,
that's Jen's like not street name. What it's like your moniker. People they're like, oh, Jen, and they're like, ah, yeah, that slut.
Oh man, it's so funny because Taylor Swift is re-releasing her album 1989, right? Mm-hmm. And it was announced that one of the vault tracks is called Slut with an exclamation mark. And, that's just going to be the song. And I can already feel it.
And Jen's sitting here and she's like, oh, Taylor, you know me so well. It's like we're soul sisters. You dedicated a song on your album to me. You should have. Pop. Yeah, thanks, girl. Got you back.
Love you.
I love that. That's fantastic. All right, let's spin for our next question. Number 1.
Who raised you? Were you raised by 2 parents, a single parent, grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, someone else? I do already know the answer, but
for the sake of conversational purposes, I was raised in a 2-parent household, and I had a stay-at-home mom, so she was home 24/7, because when you are the oldest of 6 kids, there needs to be somebody there. At least a person.
Fair.
Who is an adult.
Yes. I was raised also in a 2-parent household, but both my parents were working parents, and I was the youngest of 3. So I feel like by the time I came around, my parents were like on the edge of not caring as much about certain things. So I think I got away with a lot more than my oldest sibling probably did.
And I'm trying to remember, because there's a bigger age gap between you and your brother, right?
Well, between me and my eldest sister, there's 10 years. And
Yes,
between
that
me
was
and my
it.
brother, there's 6 years.
Mhm.
So, like, I'm, like, youngest by quite a margin, I would say.
Yeah, because that was the thing with like my siblings growing up is people would always be like, "Oh well, your siblings, you should want to hang out, and you have so much in common." But when you get to like those age gaps, like at the time I was like, I have nothing in common with like the younger ones. Like I'm 14 and they're like 4. I'm like, we're not gonna want to hang out with each other.
Yeah, I know. And I think that's how it was. But, like, it's funny because you're the oldest, I'm the youngest. So, like, from my perspective as the youngest, when, like, I was 4 and my sister was literally 14,
Mm-hmm.
like, I wanted to hang out with her. I was like, she's cool. Like, she can do fun things and I
See,
can't do them. Like,
Natalie is
play Barbies
literally-
with me.
Yeah, my youngest sister Natalie, she's literally 10 years it's 10 years younger. So my age gap between me and Natalie is literally you and your sister. So it's interesting for me to see kind of the other side of it because oh yeah, she would try to hang out with like you and I when we would be watching movies and stuff, but we'd be like, Emily, your little sister is so annoying. Or I would be thinking like, oh my god, my little sister's so annoying. I can't believe she wants to hang out with us.
No, I don't think I ever called her annoying because I was like, yes, that was me.
Oh no, that was me putting words in your mouth 100%. You, on the other hand, would be like, oh my god, memories. And I'm like, I'm sorry. All of my siblings are so annoying.
I'm like, sweet, sweet child, I understand you.
You're like, we are the same. We are one.
Well, did she steal all your clothes? Because that's what I did to my sister.
Funny enough, so I shut that shit down as soon as it started happening because I had like my sister would start to take my clothes, but I'm a crazy person, so I actually already knew how do I phrase this? I have some kind of issue in my brain where I need to color coordinate and have everything organized a very specific way, especially with clothing. So I actually always knew where stuff went, and I always knew where it was. So the minute one article of my clothing grew legs, I knew within the day. And I made up a story about having cameras in my room because I also knew who took it. And so, like, I was like, oh, I need you to give it back. And she was like, oh, well, I don't have it. So it might be in the wash. And I was like, well, I have cameras in my room, and I'm telling you that I know it was you who took it. And if you take any more of my things, I will always know because of the cameras in my room. So you can't take my stuff. And apparently it scared them so bad. I, like, rattled her. She was like, oh my God. Like, nobody ever went in my room again.
So smart.
I literally, like, as a kid, I was like, no, we are shutting this shit down right now because I'm like, I am not gonna be worried about who's in my room going through my stuff 24/7. So I was just like, what do I do? Scare him, I guess. And I did.
That you did. See,
And that I
my
did.
sister, she would just come home and I'd be wearing her socks and she'd be like, are those my socks? And I was like, no.
See, my mom has to deal with that. Like, my sisters like to take her socks and like her shorts and stuff and like those things.
Poor
Tam
Big
Tam.
T.
Yeah, Big T. Big T has to deal with so much. But yeah, no, so after that little spark of genius lunacy, I never had to deal with that problem again. So that was nice.
That's fair. You know what? Good for you.
Yup. I think we have one more question, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, cool. Whoa. All right, lay it on me. What's the last question?
As a child, were you ever scared of Satanists or people who worshipped Satan?
No, but only because I didn't actually believe that they existed. I like fully like they would talk about like people who would like walk in the steps of the devil or however it was they phrased it at our church growing up, and I fully just thought that these were like fictitious people. Like I did not think they were real. I was like, anytime somebody would talk about Satanists, I was like, meh.
Yeah, I'm the exact same way. Like I
Yeah.
didn't believe them either. I was like, yeah, that's not a real person.
Yeah, I was like, oh, yeah, Satanists? Okay. Like, fully just, like, had Satanists in the same classification as, like, the Harry Potter series. I was like, oh, Satanists and witches and wizards. Oh, yeah. So scary.
I know. Yeah. I, as a kid, I also was just like, I'm not worried about that. That's not my problem and not a problem I'll ever have to deal with.
Well, that was my thing, too. I was like, we go to Catholic school, and I'm like, oh, yeah, what are we going to find at a Catholic school? Satanists? Probably not. Like, it just was never on my like, concern, my list of things to be concerned about. I was like, if this is ever a problem, this is a problem for, like, future Emily. Today's Emily, she doesn't have to care about it.
It's not a thing. But the ocean? Pretty worried about that, even though I live in a landlocked province.
Dude, the fact I am so scared of the ocean, and we live in a landlocked province, should be investigated. And the fact that we've talked about how scared we are of the ocean is so funny to me.
It's just so deep. What are they hiding down there?
That's the thing. And it's even funnier too because I live by a lake right now, and every now and again I have like a little like tingle of fear about the lake. I'm like, what's in there? Is there like what kind of creatures live in the bottom of the lake? I can't see them. Too spooky.
Nothing.
For me.
Because it's the green algae that's gonna eat their brains before they have a chance to surface.
That's the thing. I'm surprised there's even fish in the lake that I live by because it's like algae city out there. The fact that anything can grow in there instead of like just being a forest of algae, amazing to me. But yeah, I'm trying to think if there was anything else I was gonna add, but I don't think so. All right, I think your story is someone who is very noticeable. Murders a family member, and what do? And then they cheat on their partner, and then, or no, their partner cheats on them, and that's what made them angry. With a sibling, maybe. And then, and then what happens? And then they stole stuff and ran away. Am I right?
No, not at all.
Okay. Yeah, this is quite the story you're spinning. What's the crime today? Okay, that's all I got. I have no idea what you're talking about.
All right, well, today we're going to talk about a woman named Christa Gail Pike, and she was born on March 10th, 1976. Her mother was more of a partier than a parent and introduced Christa to marijuana as a teenager. Her father didn't want to take care of Christa, so her grandmother practically raised her. Christa dropped out of high school and overall had a very troubled childhood. Sometime later, she joined the Job Corps, which is it's no longer in existence, but at the time it was a federalist government program aimed at helping low-income youth by offering vocational training and career skills. At 18, she lived on the Job Corps campus in Knoxville, Tennessee, where she focused more on her lover Taddarrell Shipp than job education. Taddarrell had been a satanic worshiper since he was 9 years old. Christa became a Satanist after meeting him and always wore a pentagram necklace.
I got hung up on the Satanist since 9 years old. That's something. I feel like...
He's committed to the devil.
Oh, for sure. Like, that's a given. I'm just trying to figure out how somebody becomes a Satanist at 9 years old. Because I didn't know jack shit about anything at 9 years old. Like, at that point in my life, I think I was just assuming that everybody did what my family did, which was go to church. And that was it. Like, I never really thought about that kind of stuff.
And maybe I don't know. Genuinely don't know. But my guess is someone in his family, maybe his parents, or like some sort of like...
some figure
parental influence became a Satanist also, so then it kind of ushered him into the lifestyle. Would be my best guess. Genuinely have no idea.
I was gonna say, unless he like went to the Scholastic Book Fair and picked up Satanism for Dummies. Like I don't know how that would have happened, but all right, nice.
You know what? Maybe he was just there for the vibes.
Fair enough. Yeah, I get it.
So Christa was the jealous type of girl and was very possessive of Daryl. She believed her classmate, a 19-year-old university student, Colleen Slimmer, was her rival for Daryl's affections, even though she wasn't. She told a friend she hated Colleen and said she could kill her, which is a red flag. Just saying.
Red flag, definitely. I might even go as far as to say like I don't know what. A red or red, I think, is just black. Can it be a black flag?
Yeah.
A maroon flag?
Danger.
Yeah, a danger flag. Yeah.
Please help flag.
Yeah, an SOS flag.
So Christa thought Colleen was trying to steal her boyfriend from her, but friends of Colleen also denied the accusations. So naturally, Christa decided that Colleen must be lying and was, in fact, trying to steal her boyfriend. So she decided to take matters into her own hands. Christa was friends with 18-year-old Shadola Peterson, and together they planned to lure Colleen to an isolated, abandoned steam plant near the University of Tennessee campus. On January 12th, 1995, Christa, Daryl, Shadola, and Colleen signed out of the dormitory and proceeded to the woods, where Colleen was told they wanted to make peace by offering her some marijuana. Upon arrival at the secluded location, Colleen was attacked by Christa, Daryl, and Shadola acted as a lookout. For the next 30 minutes, Colleen was taunted, beaten, and slashed, and a pentagram was carved into her chest. Finally, Christa smashed Colleen's skull with a large chunk of asphalt, killing her, and Christa kept a piece of her skull. Christa began to show off the piece of her skull around the school, and within 36 hours, the three of them were arrested. Because if someone showed me, they're like, hey, look, there's a piece of this girl's skull, I would call the police immediately.
100%. And, like, it's so weird because this isn't even the first, like, story you shared on the show where, like, people, there's some, I don't know if it's, like, a certain way of thinking, but there's certain people who do this kind of stuff where it's, like, wildly fucked up and violent. And then they're, like so proud of it, and they also think that they're not going to get caught or something, as if there's not going to be a consequence to doing that.
Yeah.
It's very strange to me. I know I'm kind of pulling at straws here. I don't really know if that's how she thought, but I would assume if you're wandering around school showing people a piece of a skull, you're probably not thinking that you're going to get caught or something.
It's got to be something like that. Or, like, a cockiness almost of, like, oh, look at this thing.
Yeah.
And, like, maybe not even comprehending, like, this is really fucked up. And just thinking it's, like, something to be proud of.
Yeah, there's definitely something there. But all I can say to everything you just said, though, was, oof, yikes. That is horrendous.
Definitely is. So, the logbook from the university where they were all going to showed that Christa, Daryl, Shadola, and Colleen left together, and only 3 of them returned, obviously, because they murdered her, straight up. Detectives found the piece of the skull in Christa's jacket pocket, and the suspect's rooms were searched, and a copy of the Satanic Bible was found in Daryl's room. Soon after the arrest, Christa confessed to the police of the torture and killing of Colleen, but insisted they were merely trying to scare her and it got out of control. Which feels like a stretch because it feels pretty premeditated to me. But
yeah, I'd say for the amount of things that they did too, it's definitely not giving the vibe of spur of the moment.
No.
Yeah, there was something else I was going to add on to that, but yeah, I would not believe that. I don't think.
So during Christa's trial, the prosecution was aided by evidence and Christa's confession. Christa was charged with first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder. On March 22nd, 1996, after only a few hours of deliberation, Christa was found guilty on both counts. On March 30th, Christa was sentenced to death by electrocution for the murder charge and 25 years in prison for the conspiracy charge. So Tadero received a life sentence with the possibility of parole plus 25 years. Shadola, who had turned informant during the investigation, received probation for pleading guilty to being an accessory after the fact. Following the guilty verdict, Christa canceled and then relaunched an appeal of her conviction in the Tennessee state courts. In June 2001, then again in June 2002, against the advice of her lawyers. Christa asked the courts to drop her appeal and sought to be executed via electrocution. So, that's interesting. You don't hear that very often where someone's like, I would like to be dead. Thank you.
Yeah. I was trying to crawl back in my memory banks because that kind of like reminded me of something. I feel like there was also a guy that you talked about on the show who also wanted to die, but he wanted to be able to pick his like form of execution or something. But yeah, that doesn't happen very often. So it does make you like, I'm just going back to what I was saying earlier. It does give me vibes of some form of mental illness in this case. Methinks.
Definitely some form of mental illness going on. So criminal court judge Mary Beth Leibowitz granted the request, and an execution date of August 19th, 2002 was set. Christa soon thereafter changed her mind, and on July 8th, 2002, defense lawyers filed a motion to allow the appeal process to continue. This motion was denied. However, on August 2nd, 2002, a 3-judge state appeals court panel ruled that the proceedings should be continued and the execution was not carried out. In December 2008, Christa's latest request for a new trial was turned down and she was returned to death row. With this denial, Christa's allowed appeals under the rules and procedures of the state of Tennessee's criminal justice system were exhausted. While in prison, Christa was diagnosed with a borderline personality disorder, which I think would explain a lot of her erratic actions and like flip-floppiness. In May 2014, Christa's lawyers entered an appeal in the federal court system. Her lawyers sought a commutation of the sentence from death to prison on the following grounds: ineffective assistance of counsel, Christa suffered from mental illness, and capital punishment as administered in Tennessee is unconstitutional. In a 61-page ruling by the U.S. District Judge Harry S. Matisse Jr., issued on March 11, 2016, all grounds were rejected and requested communication was denied. So, on August 22nd, 2019, having heard the same appeal by Christa's lawyers on October 1st, 2018, the 3-judge United States Court of Appeals for the 6th Circuit panel unanimously upheld the lower court ruling and denied relief. On August 24th, 2001, with alleged assistance from inmate Natasha Cornett, attacked and attempted to strangle fellow inmate Patricia Jones with a shoestring and nearly succeeded in choking her to death. Christa was convicted of attempted first-degree murder on August 12, 2004, although it is the position of the Tennessee Department of Corrections that Natasha assisted in the crime. Their investigations concluded there was insufficient evidence to charge her with helping Christa attack Patricia. So even while she's in jail, it's still like she's got murder on the mind.
Yeah. It makes me wonder though, because I read something interesting the other day that was saying that it's interesting how when you talk about anything that's like a crime case and it's a person who has mental illness because while it might be a contributing factor, like say for example, there's lots of people who have like a bipolar disorder in the world who aren't out killing people. So that makes you wonder if there's just like maybe something else. You know what I mean? Because yeah, like you said, she's in jail. I'm assuming like once you have a diagnosis like that and you go to jail, they probably medicate you. And it's like even with all that, she's like you said, she's still got murder on her mind.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I feel like I was reading a different article about Christa, and they were saying that, like, during her whole appeals process, like, of trying to get it appealed because of her, like, mental illness and stuff, there was, like, multiple psychologists she talked to who they were like, she has major trauma from her childhood that's likely contributing, so a very big contributing factor.
Yeah, that would check out then, because yeah, it has to be, or not has to be, but yeah, I could see that there would be other contributing factors to that too, but yeah, Girlie's got, she's got a plan. She's got ideas.
She does, and the ideas do not end there, because in March 2012, it was revealed that Christa had made escape plans involving corrections officer Justin Heflin and a New Jersey man named Donald Kohut. Though it has never been determined how exactly it began, Donald, who worked as a personal trainer and was in his then early 30s, entered into a letter-writing correspondence with Christa around the beginning of 2011. By July of that year, Donald was making the close to 1,800-mile by car round trip from Flemington, New Jersey to Nashville, Tennessee to visit Christa in person on visiting days once or twice a month. Eventually, Donald communicated a plan for Christa to escape and enlisted the help of corrections officer Heflin, who agreed to participate in return for cash and gifts. Because of security concerns, the Tennessee Department of Corrections has not provided a bunch of details about the plan. However, the eventually unsealed indictment laid out a scenario where a prison key would be traced and then a duplicate created. Early in 2012, prison personnel received information about the escape plot, and this led to the attempted prison break being thwarted by a joint investigation involving the Tennessee Department of Corrections, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, and the New Jersey State Police. According to the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, the plan was not very far along and uncovered the jailbreak was not imminent. In March 2012, Donald was actually arrested and charged with bribery and conspiracy to commit escape, while Officer Heflin was arrested and charged with bribery, official misconduct, and conspiracy to commit escape. Christa was not charged, and it was unclear to the investigators if she was a participant in the conspiracy other than being aware of it. So on May 31st, 2012, Donald was sentenced to 7 years in prison, the time to be served in the Tennessee State Northeast Correctional Complex, and Officer Heflin, who cooperated with authorities after his arrest, served no prison time but was terminated from his job with the Tennessee Department of Corrections. On August 27, 2020, Tennessee Attorney General Herbert Slattery's office requested the Tennessee Supreme Court to set an execution date for Christa. Due to the COVID pandemic in Tennessee and other various factors, Christa's attorneys were granted extensions by the court, allowing them more time to argue as to why Christa should not be executed. The state did not oppose the extensions, and on June 7th, 2021, Christa's attorneys filed a motion to oppose the execution date and request a certificate communication. The court is expected to decide on the matter as to whether Christa can be executed or if her sentence will be transferred to just like a regular prison sentence instead of being on death row. If Christa is executed, she would be the first woman to be executed in Tennessee in roughly 200 years. The court is currently still deciding, like as of like 3 weeks ago, that was the last article I saw, on Christa's death sentence, and she continues to be the sole woman on Tennessee's death row. And this case is kind of interesting to me because like it seems like to Daryl, her satanic boyfriend, very much had equal stakes in the murder of Colleen, but his sentence was so significantly less, and that's because at the time he was 17 and Christa was 18. So it was kind of this weird cutoff period where he didn't like have nearly as harsh of a sentence because he was just underage by like a couple of months, whereas she was 18.
See, you didn't touch on that in the beginning because I thought about that. I was like, oh, it's weird that this seems to be at least he was aware anyways that she has this was jealous of this girl and there was some kind of like background issue. But I thought that was weird that as far as like charges go, it seemed that she got the brunt of it. And then that makes sense to me. Huh. I had no idea. That is so crazy.
Yeah, like I don't know, because he received a life sentence with the possibility of parole plus 25 years, which is a way later sentence than death, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, and but it's so weird to me too, especially with I don't know how I feel about there being an age cutoff for certain types of crimes. Like, I understand needing to protect children and that type of thing, but I feel like if you're 17, like, on the cusp of becoming an adult and you're doing this kind of stuff, like, I don't know.
It seems like a weird double standard to me. I don't know. I feel conflicted about it because on one hand, I'm like, minors should not have the same consequences as a full adult. Yeah. But at the same time, when, like, it's only a few months of difference...
but then it's like, how do you write in a contingency, though, of if you turn 18 within that year or something, right? Because then you might as well just be sentencing them as an 18-year-old.
Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of weird. Like, I don't really know how to
feel about
rectify that. Yeah. But, like, it is a weird detail, I thought.
It is weird. And, like, it just even like how you were describing how it was handled for like everything that had happened is strange. I don't know. I would put this in my books as like being like definitely a more odd case, especially with like her being sentenced to death and then having all of these like weird pushbacks for it. And then it's like, oh, well, it's because of COVID. And it's like, well, if you're worried about people dying of COVID and you're worried about the person on death row dying of COVID, that's a weird thing to be weird about.
It is. I don't know. It's weird because, like, she was originally sentenced to death in 2002. Yeah. And it's now 2023 and still up in the air.
Yeah, that to me just seems like they don't plan on killing her. They just plan on being like, oh, yeah, she's on death row. And then she'll eventually die here when she might be 100. And we'll have done our job.
Like, not that... I don't know. And I also feel like there's a bunch of, I'm not exactly sure who in her family it is, but there is a page up, like a website for her, I assume from someone in her family, like just talking about how like she should be like not sentenced to death because of like her mental illness and like her young age and her like traumatic past and stuff.
Well, that doesn't take away though from like, and that's the thing too. She did fully murder somebody, but she didn't just fully murder somebody. She like desecrated a corpse and tortured and beat a actual living human being over the idea of her boyfriend cheating on her with this person. Not even that anything actually happened. So I don't think that's like exactly. I don't think that's exactly the kind of thought process you want somebody to have who's just like out walking the streets either.
No, I agree. But like, I don't know. I think there is something to like, it's so hard because I kind of firmly believe that most of the people who are in prison, it's either like something that happened by accident, like they accidentally hit someone and they died, right? Mm-hmm. And then they go to jail. Or it's a case of, like, they have some underlying mental illness. Mm-hmm. And, like, in both cases, I'm like, do they really deserve to be in prison? Not necessarily. I feel like there's got to be a better way to, like, rehabilitate these people.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, a rehabilitation thing. But then it's hard, too, though, because I think that it's easier to say than to do also for a lot of these things because if you have somebody in jail who's, like, say, very charismatic and knows how to talk to people, but also, like, takes joy from killing people, for example, they'll just tell you whatever you want to hear, and you can fully believe that they're rehabilitated, and then the minute they get out, they do stuff. Like, it's really hard to figure out, like, how people actually think without literally being in their head thinking their thoughts for them.
I 100% agree, and I think we've talked about cases before where people do get out and then they go fucking kill immediately. So it's definitely tricky, and I don't really know what the right answer is, but
it kind of feels like there isn't one. Like, at this point, with how many years of people, you know, being in the prison systems and having, like, different law changes to accommodate for, like, different types of things that happen, if there was a better way of rehabilitating, I think we would have found it by now. But I also think it's hard to think from the inside of the mind of somebody who has these compulsions if you are not also somebody who has those types of compulsions.
Definitely. I think, I don't know, man, it's weird.
You're like,
it's a weird thing.
It's weird, and it's hard, and it's challenging, and neither of us are experts. We just like to talk about stuff.
Yes, that we do.
Yeah, and that brings us to the end of today's episode, where you just listened to us talk for almost an hour. Yippee! I hope we
do have, like, a super quick announcement.
Oh, yes.
As we mentioned at the beginning of this episode, I'm wedding planning. We've got things on the go. So we, unfortunately, sorry guys, are taking a small break. And we will be back with more new episodes on October the 27th.
Yes, we will. Which will be a quick month-ish away, which, again, if we could have had things happen differently, we would have. But that's how it is, and I'm also part of Jen's wedding, so that means that I will also be unavailable because shit's to do.
We got shit to do.
Lots of shit to do. But yes, we will be back soon, and then I'll be right in time for the cusp of spooky season. So we'll have some nice creepy stories for you the next time we all chat here together. And if you yourself have anything that you want to submit potentially for a Halloween listener stories, feel free to submit it to our Google Doc that we have up on all of our social media pages. If you forget what our social media is, it is Wheel of Crime on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Or is Twitter still called Twitter, or is it just called X now?
I think it's just called X now. I'm never really sure, though.
I don't particularly care for this change, so I'm going to keep calling it Twitter. So on Twitter, or you could email us, which is wheelofcrime@gmail.com, or you can go on our website, which is www.wheelofcrime.com, and we also have a Patreon, which is Wheel of Crime on Patreon if you want to donate to the show. And I always think I'm forgetting something whenever we do this close off. I might be, and I might not be, but I can't remember anything else. So today I am choosing to end it at that.
Perfect. That's it. That's all. And we will see you on October 27th for a new episode. Okay,
Yay!
bye.
Bye.